Everyone says the box office is dead. I just bet on 7 movies hitting $1 billion this year. One of these will beat Avengers Endgame's box office record, and it's not Avengers Doomsday. Let's talk box office predictions for 2026. Christopher Nolan's making a movie about the Trojan War. That's your $1 billion lock right there. Oppenheimer almost hit $1 billion as an R-rated drama about a physicist. The Odyssey is a war epic with battles and lots of celebrities, so it's way more commercial. Plus, Nolan owns July. The Dark Knight opened in July. Dunkirk opened in July. This is his spot. But here's the real reason this crosses $1 billion. Oppenheimer turned Nolan into a different kind of filmmaker. Before, he was the guy who made smart blockbusters. After, he became the filmmaker, the one you show up for no matter what he's making. This is the first movie that gets to say from the director of Oppenheimer. That's huge, and it's going to help the Odyssey in a way his previous movies couldn't. Even with an R rating, I think this hits $1 billion easily. Europe's gonna go crazy for it, like for Avatar. It's gonna be the first Nolan movie to cross $1 billion since The Dark Knight Rises. It's happening. Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans are back. 6 years since the last Avengers. This should be massive. No Way Home made almost $2 billion without China. Deadpool and Wolverine hit $1.3 billion. Doomsday has Christmas on its side, better release timing than Endgame had, inflation working for it. But Marvel fatigue is real, and Marvel can't shake it. Look at what happened in 2025. Thunderbolts flopped, Captain America flopped, Fantastic Four flopped. 3 movies that were supposed to build hype for this, all disappointments. At the same time, some Marvel movies still work. Wakanda Forever did well, Deadpool and Wolverine crushed it. So the MCU is all over the place right now. Nobody knows what's going to hit and what's going to tank. Doomsday will probably cross $1 billion. No way it's getting anywhere near Infinity War and Endgame. Those had a decade of momentum. Every movie building toward one moment. Doomsday is trying to recapture that after years of scattered stories and burned-out audiences. Maybe 6 years away is enough. Maybe Downey and Evans returning makes it an event. If they nail the execution, if the movie's actually good, it could work. Or maybe it's just nostalgia bait. We'll see. Mario is essentially Despicable Me at this point. Completely review-proof. The first movie did over $1 billion at the box office, killed it on streaming, and the sequel has April basically to itself for about a month. There are no standards it needs to meet. But the first Mario performed in a really unusual way. It opened massive at Frozen 2 and Incredibles 2 numbers. It basically performed like an animated sequel right out of the gate. So when you make the actual sequel, where do you go? You've already hit your ceiling on the first movie. There's not much audience left to capture. I'm predicting $1.2 billion. That's slightly less than the first because the first already got everyone, but it's not going to lose much of its audience either. After Nolan, this is the safest bet of the year. Tom Holland's putting on the suit again for the first time since 2021, and No Way Home made $1.9 billion, so there's a lot riding on this. That movie ended on a massive cliffhanger. Peter Parker erased his identity from the world, nobody knows who he is anymore, and everyone's been waiting 4 years to see what happens next. The hype for this sequel is real. But No Way Home had the multiverse going for it. Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield showed up, 3 generations of Spider-Man on screen together. It became this event that you had to see opening weekend. Brand New Day doesn't have that. And there's another problem. The movie's releasing the same month as The Odyssey, which means it won't get specialty screens like IMAX for a bit. It's basically going to be stuck with standard screens only, same thing that happened to Jurassic World last year. But it's still Spider-Man. And Spider-Man's on a different level than the rest of the Marvel roster right now. Yeah, Marvel's been struggling at the box office lately, but Spider-Man remains the A-lister. This is the sequel to No Way Home, it's got a summer release date, and it's the movie right before Doomsday. Plus, Tom Holland's cheaper than Robert Downey Jr., so the budget's probably way lower than what they used to spend on these things. Brand New Day's crossing $1 billion easily. It won't hit No Way Home numbers, but it doesn't need to. $1 billion is happening. Disney's been printing money with these live-action remakes, and nobody wants to admit it works. Every time they announce another one, people complain about lack of originality, about Disney being creatively bankrupt, all of that. And then the movie comes out and makes $1 billion. Moana 2 came out last year and opened huge, over $200 million for a 5-day weekend. Problem was, the movie was mediocre, so it didn't have legs. But it proved people want more Moana. Now we're getting the live-action version, and it's got everything. The music's beloved, the story works, and Disney moved it from Thanksgiving to summer, which is where it should have been all along. The trailer broke records, second most watched of 2025. I see some people pointing to the release date like it's a death sentence. It's coming out between Minions and Spider-Man in July, so it's basically sandwiched between two massive family films. And yeah, that scheduling is not perfect. It's going to cost the movie screens and probably hurt the opening weekend. But Moana's big enough that it doesn't matter. It's going to hit $1 billion even with that release date working against it. When they announced Toy Story 4, people lost their minds. Toy Story 3 had the perfect ending. Making a fourth one felt like an insult. People actually threatened to boycott. And then it came out and made over $1 billion. Now we're doing this whole dance again with Toy Story 5, another sequel nobody asked for, another example of Pixar selling out. Why can't they just leave it alone? Except we already know how this plays out because we literally watched it happen 6 years ago. Toy Story's massive overseas. It could underperform in North America and still crush it internationally. There's no real family competition in June, and the backlash means nothing because we've seen this exact same backlash before, and it didn't stop anything. Toy Story 5 is going to match what 3 and 4 did. It's crossing $1 billion. The Michael Jackson biopic dropped its first trailer, and it did something nobody expected. In 24 hours, it got 116 million views worldwide. That's the biggest 24-hour trailer launch in Lionsgate's entire history, most viewed trailer for any music biopic or concert movie ever. Now, I know what you're thinking. Music biopics are a coin flip. Bohemian Rhapsody made $800 million, and that felt like lightning in a bottle. But Michael Jackson is probably the most universally recognized artist in history, and the controversies around him, whether you believe them or not, are going to draw people in. That's just how it works. When Black Panther came out, the African-American audience turned up in huge numbers and made it a monster hit. Same thing happened with Sinners. Michael's going to have that same pull. And if you need proof that Michael Jackson still makes money, look at the Broadway musical. It's been running for only 4 years and has made $300 million. It's already a top 20 highest-grossing show in Broadway history. Michael releases in late April with basically no competition. It's going to have legs. I'm calling it for $1 billion. Star Wars hasn't had a theatrical release in 7 years. The last one was Rise of Skywalker in 2019, which made $1 billion. Since then, everything Star Wars has been on Disney+. The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Andor, all streaming shows. Baby Yoda became a household name through The Mandalorian. Everyone knows Grogu at this point, but here's the question nobody can answer. Do people still think of Star Wars as something you go to a theater for, or is it just a streaming franchise now? Lucasfilm has been trying to get a theatrical movie off the ground for years and couldn't make it happen. Disney Plus became the default home for everything Star Wars. So when The Mandalorian and Grogu finally hits theaters in May, we're going to find out if Star Wars still has that theatrical pull or if 7 years away killed it. The movie has goodwill and brand recognition going for it. People love Baby Yoda, but I'm not convinced every Star Wars spin-off is going to feel the force at the box office anymore. This one's a wild card. This one's complicated. First, it's releasing the same day as Avengers Doomsday, and it's basically the same audience, so opening weekend is going to be a bloodbath. Some people are saying it could be like Barbenheimer, where both movies hype each other up and everyone wins. Maybe. I don't think that kind of magic is going to happen twice, but we'll see. Second, the source material for Part 3 is nowhere near as good as the first Dune novel. They have to make significant changes to make it work for general audiences. If they do a straight adaptation of the book, forget these numbers. But if they take creative liberties and make it actually entertaining, then this thing could leg out over the holidays and do massive business. It all depends on whether the movie's great. If it is, it'll hold through Christmas and New Year's and rack up huge numbers. If it's just okay, that same-day release is going to hurt it. The Devil Wears Prada sequel dropped its trailer and it became the most watched trailer of all of 2025. 181.5 million views in its first 24 hours. Most viewed comedy trailer in 15 years of tracking. People went absolutely crazy for it. And just like with Michael, I'm seeing people who don't go to movies getting excited about this. Mostly Gen X moms and Gen Z women. The original came out almost 20 years ago, and there's this entire generation that's nostalgic for it now. This could be 2026's Barbie. Same demographic, same kind of cultural moment, same type of movie that becomes an event. Meryl Streep and Anne Hathaway are back, and it's releasing in early May with basically nothing competing against it in that lane. If this thing is good, it's going to have insane legs. It could run all summer. And there's no question about whether the audience will show up theatrically. That trailer proved the interest is massive.